लाइट कम है. Good evening. I can't.
वो फोन देना.
Good evening, everybody. Dr. Abhishek Pandey, are you there? This is Indu Punj going live from CWSIR group. Good evening to one and all for a talk show on adolescent, the critical age. We are going to start this show very soon, the talk show. Yeah, now it's live. They have given permission. Good evening to one and all. This is Indu Punj from CWSIR group. Good evening, Dr. Pandey, and I feel it's my honor and privilege to be part of such esteemed group of educationists, and today's talk is about adolescent, the critical age. I'm Indu Punj, founder Stories Matter, and I'm member of this group called CWSIR. Dr. Abhishek Pandey, can you hear me? May I have the permission to start? Okay. So I can see 4 members have joined us. Okay. Welcome all of you to my talk. हम आज जो बात करने जा रहे हैं वो है एडोलोसेंस के बारे में, और हम सब एज पेरेंट्स वी आर रियली कंसर्न्ड एंड वी फील दैट आवर चिल्ड्रन आर स्लिपिंग अवे फ्रॉम आवर ग्रिप. So what are the concerns, what are the problems that we are facing as parents of grown up teenagers? ऐसी क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं हमें सबको हम फेस करते हैं, उनके बारे में बात करेंगे. हम बात करेंगे कि ऐसी कौन सी डेवलपमेंट्स होती हैं बच्चों में इस दौरान, और हमें किन बातों का ध्यान रखना है, हमें अपने बच्चों के साथ कौन सी ऐसी बॉन्डिंग बनानी है ताकि वो हम दोनों मिलके एक टीम बन सके. सो टुडेज टॉक इज अबाउट एडोलेसेंस, द क्रिटिकल एज. गुड इवनिंग मोहित मल्होत्रा, गुड इवनिंग अभिषेक शर्मा, अनुष्का, साहिल शर्मा. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to the talk. We are waiting for some more members to join so that I can talk about it. It is basically about adolescence, the critical age. What are the problems faced by our adolescents? What are the challenges they are facing in today's world due to social media pressures, due to body imaging, due to comparisons with their peer groups? So there is a whole lot of प्रॉब्लम दे आर फेसिंग. गुड इवनिंग अरुण शर्मा जी, मेरी टॉक शो में आने के लिए. दिस इज़ आई एम गोइंग लाइव फ्रॉम CWSIR ग्रुप. दिस इज़ एन इंटरनेशनल ग्रुप, सो आई विल बी शिफ्टिंग माई लैंग्वेज फ्रॉम हिंदी टू इंग्लिश, एंड आई विल बी using both the ways of communication. Just a minute. Yeah, some technical glitches if I face, please do excuse me. Very good evening Abhishek Sharma, good evening Tasir Khan, Nikhil Rai. So हम शुरू करने जा रहे हैं. What is adolescence? Adolescence is a transitional time between childhood to young adulthood. Teenagers are learning to become their own persons to function independently from their parents. It is truly an amazing time of metamorphosis. Kids are opening up 2 wings and are learning to fly. This journey of transition gets complicated due to physiological and neurological changes that profoundly affect how children think, feel, and act. basically you see there are a lot of changes in social, emotional, physical. So a child is going through tremendous change from childhood to this transition is not so smooth. Even if we remember about our own experiences as a teenager, they were not so smooth, they were not so happy, and at times we had to face a lot of problems, and at times we felt that I wish there was somebody to listen to me, and I wish there was a medium where I could express myself, where I could voice my opinion, where I had a open forum to express my challenges. So why is this transition so difficult? Why this becomes a problem for parents and teachers? Because of a lot of social networking these days. Children are exposed to, so this is becoming a very, very stressful environment for them because of the social media, information overload, early exposure to sexualized content like violence, drugs, alcohol, body image pressures. They are facing a lot, and we do not know how to navigate these changes. So it's not unreasonable to accept that this is going to be challenging time for our kids and us. So what I want to talk about today is not just from my what I have read in books. I also want to talk about all these problems from a mother's perspective. Good evening, Dr. Pramod Mahajan. Good evening, Balu Singh ji, Tasir Khan. Thank you for joining in. So we will first start with the physical changes. What are the physical changes that a child pre-teen undergoes? There is a lot of increase. There's increase in hormonal activities. There's increase in height. Either they gain a lot of muscle acquisition of muscle mass, distribution of body fat, and development of secondary sexual characteristics. Voice starts cracking. There can be acne. At times children either gain a lot of weight or they become too skinny. Just a minute. I just need 1 second. There's some disturbance. So children gain either a lot of weight or they become too skinny, and they become too conscious of the way they look. They become too conscious of their body image, and because there is a constant comparison between what they see on screen and what they see in themselves. So here also between on the other side, girls are facing a lot of problems with the menstruation cycle, and what we used to face at class 9th and 10th level, it has come down to class 4 and 5 level. As a teacher, I have experienced that these things are not properly dealt at that level, because we feel that this stage and this age comes little later. But now with changing times, with changing maturity in children, this has come down to level of class 4 and 5. When I was teaching through Oxford books in class 6, there was a chapter on reproduction. And I always used to wonder, why do we teach reproduction at class 6 level when children are not even prepared to understand? But now at this time in 2020, I feel that is the need of the hour, and even our CBSE and CRT books should also consider bringing it down to 6 and 7 level. And there should be professionals taking sessions for both boys and girls, explaining menstruation cycle, about changes in the body, about voice cracking, about acne, about everything to deal with the hormonal changes, mood swings. Children become so underconfident about their body image, they are unable to express. So if there are proper sessions held by counselors, held by biology teachers, by subject experts, it is much easier for children to handle the same thing, which otherwise is a very difficult subject. Me as a mother, now my daughter has also joined. Hi Shreya. So I remember having told her even way back, so many years back, I made her sit with me when she was in class 4, and I explained her the entire cycle and explained her what are the changes that she is going to face. as a girl, and how is she supposed to be prepared to handle those changes. There can be in schools there can be embarrassing moments if the child is not prepared. So I started giving her I prepared for her for properly gradually. So this becomes a very important role as mentors, as parents, that we prepare our children to handle these physical changes, because this has a lot to do with the psychological and mental changes as well. If the child is underconfident, if he or she becomes a bully because of the body image, because either they are too skinny or they are too fat or they are too tall or they are too short, so people tend to laugh at them. They become a laughing stock. They get bullied. अगर at this time हम उनको ये बताएं कि it is all right, we teach them at this point in time self acceptance, we teach them empathy, we teach them self compassion. If they start accepting their own body, the changes in their body as a phase of life, as a changing, that it is just a phase and this too shall pass and they will soon get over this, it will be much easier transition. Here I am typically referring only to physical changes. First, when they are explained properly about changes in their body and they accept those changes and they are confident and they carry it, they flaunt their imperfections, whatever they are, so they become very confident. They do not care about how they look, they do not care about how they are expected to behave and how they are supposed to tackle. One is physical change. Second, we have to tell them now that their bodies are growing, they need healthy, nutritious diet here. So the importance of eating right, nutritious food, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, how are they going to make difference in their growth and development? How these changes are going to, how these healthy foods are going to affect. Then the importance of physical education. It's very important for a growing child to go out and play and burn out their energies, which are pent up emotions. Otherwise they get into self-stimulation. Now, after talking about physical education, where our physical education teachers, they need to instill this in their physical education period, they do not sit back in their classrooms. And they play regularly. They are made to play games like basketball, volleyball, so that they are involved in this physical activity. They can go for swimming, jogging, cycling, but there has to be some kind of activity. After this, one more thing that I want to talk to parents especially, that children start identifying now after pre-teens, when they enter the age of 14 to 16, 17, they start identifying, they understand their sexual preferences, they understand their spectrum, where they fall. So they do feel the need to talk. They do feel the need to express, they need that platform where they can express their doubts. There is a whole lot of information available on internet, but is that information correct to be fed? So as so many dignitaries, chairpersons are watching this, I request each one of you as leaders to hold those sessions from professionals. There should be talks about all these issues, sexual orientation, so that children can express their doubts. There are live examples. I have dealt with the students who become laughing stock. If they express that they like to be more with girls, if they like to dress up like girls, if they like to, so they become laughing stock. They have to hold it. They do not know whether to talk or hold it back. They do not know how to express these emotions. They think अगर parents को बताया तो जूते पड़ेंगे. This issue, they are very uncomfortable to talk. But as a mother, I have personally walked my talk. You can, like, I would talk to my children very openly on these issues. They expressed their desires, they talked about it, and this was a much easier and smoother transition. My son told me कि अगर बच्चे झूठ नहीं बोलना चाहते, but we as parents, when we do not listen to them, and we scold them for expressing their doubts, for expressing their these preferences, or if we see them talking to their friends and we feel that there is a lot of peer orientation, children are talking more to their friends and they are drifting away from us. The reason is this: because we do not make friends with them, we do not talk these issues openly with them. So here there is a need to provide those open platforms, forums where children can express themselves, they can express their doubts, their issues can be handled by subject experts, and they are guided properly and counseled properly, and there are techniques which are taught to handle their negative thoughts. We call them NATs. NATs are automatic negative thoughts. So how do we teach them to diffuse these thoughts? How? Because once I have decided in my mind and I have believed in my mind that I am ugly, I am fat, I will not be loved. So that becomes a kind of loop. Children, they get embroiled in that loop and they keep thinking, एक के बाद एक वो thought चलता रहेगा कि अगर मैं मोटी हूँ तो मेरे friends नहीं होंगे, अगर मेरे friends नहीं होंगे मुझे कोई बुलाएगा नहीं, अगर मुझे कोई बुलाएगा नहीं तो मैं I'll feel lonely, I'll feel depressed. And they also compare themselves with others on social media, on what they see on screens. There is a whole lot of discrepancy. And more is the gap, more is the discrepancy, larger is they feel somewhere they are not fit to be there. They feel their self-esteem goes low, they feel underconfident. So all these, to mitigate these effects, if we start giving them healing stories, we give them metaphors like think of all your doubts as balloons, and think it over as balloons and pierce them with sharp object and be ready to explode them. Or think of them as just a minute, low battery. So you can also talk to these metaphors can also be related as low battery thing. For example, if I'm feeling low, I need to charge myself. If I'm having negative thoughts and those negative thoughts are a kind of chain that's going on in rebuttaling in my mind, and I get up from that place, leave that place and I go out for a walk, or I have water and I talk to a friend, or I talk to my parent, and I can come out of it. Or we say, how do you recharge yourself? So these negative thoughts can be taken as low battery. आपकी फ़ोन की बैटरी लो हो जाती है तो you have to charge it. And similarly, if we teach them these diffusion of these negative thoughts and we teach them how to do it, it will be much easier for our children to tackle these issues. Next, we also say you can rate your emotions. If you are feeling very low, if you are feeling very heavy, how do you tackle it? Rate it. The more value you attach to your feeling, the more it hurts. It means somewhere you've believed it. So there is a kind of attachment to that feeling. So you have to detach. You see yourself as this is a passing thought. I am not the thought. So Indu is having this thought. Address yourself as a third person, and she is feeling ugly, she is feeling fat, she is feeling, and on a scale of 1 to 100, now rate how much do you buy this, how much do you believe that you are ugly, or you are fat, or you are not to be loved, or you are a failure, or you are whatever is the thought that's disturbing you. So when we rate it on a scale from 1 to 100, we know the intensity. Why do we not rate it from 1 to 10? Because then sensitivity level goes down. But when we do it on 1 to 100, sensitivity level increases. Now if my thought is at 50, I say it's okay, just 50% of the time I feel it. But if now it is at 90, and I feel that 90% of the time I feel fat and ugly and unaccepted by my peer or my friends, then it is serious. then it needs counseling, then it needs therapy, then it needs to be dealt with, because this is going to cause low self-esteem, this is going to cause depression, this is going to cause lot of anxiety issues or lot of problems. So one thing leads to another. So this is where we need to tackle mental health in our schools. At this age group, it is extremely important to consider mental health as one of the major topics. Why? Because we give lot of importance to physical health. बच्चे को 98 बुखार होता है तो 98 से 99 या 100 फीवर होता है तो वी टेक देम टू डॉक्टर, वी आर सो कंसर्न दैट चाइल्ड इज़ नॉट फीलिंग वेल. बट ऑन द सेम हैंड, इफ वी सी आवर चाइल्ड डिप्रेस्ड, yes, Abhishek, the social media presence has also created the sense of introversion in youngsters. Yes, they feel secluded, they try to keep themselves attached to the screens more. I'm coming to that. Thanks for reminding me. Thank you, Tasi. Thank you. Yes, I have also, thanks for this, Tasir, and I've always been a very loved teacher by my students, because I would always try to, build that bond. We'll talk about it later. So what I wanted to emphasize here is, now we as parents and we as teachers, what is our role here so that our students don't get carried away with media. One more thing that in our this documentary, The Social Dilemma, they have mentioned is that we are being used, we are the product, and we are consumed by social media. Children, they are using all the filters. It means somewhere they are not comfortable. So there is a disparity. There is they do not accept their real face. When they do not accept themselves, there is a gap between the real self and the self they see on the screen. When they meet people, they will be underconfident. So we have to, reduce the number of apps. We have to stop using these filters. Let people get used to how you look. Why do we have to project ourselves to be something else? अगर हम बच्चों को बचपन से ये सिखाएं कि हम ऐसे ही अच्छे हैं, you are good enough, you are worthy, and you don't need to be something else to be loved and accepted, they will be much more better at it. I think this usage of filters should be totally stopped. We don't need to look something else to be accepted. One more thing, the strategies as in our generation that were found, pleasure and pain. In our times, there were theories by Skinner in 1940s. We've read about all those, that pleasure and pain is a right approach for dealing with children. But now things have changed. Social media and awareness, the level of awareness amongst our youth is totally different, and they are at a totally different level. So we have to change these pleasure and pain with the words of love and compassion. I have to love my child. I have to accept that child 100% with all the goods and the bads. We say the children are slipping away from our grip. So how do we reclaim them? What are the steps I should take as a parent to reclaim my child back to me? For that, first of all, we have to show that love and compassion. We have to give them this belief that I believe you. Mostly parents in these COVID days, I will talk about now some live examples that I have had during, I write on Quora also as a counselor. So I got almost 200 questions a day talking about how our parents, they are always nagging, they are preaching, they are authoritative. There's no friendly thing. They don't feel like talking to their own parents. They don't open up with their own parents because there is no effective communication. Parents feel we are doing so much. And children in return are not becoming responsible, they are not taking charge of their responsibility. Somewhere they start drifting apart from each other. Here we, to bridge this gap, to be this in the same team, we have to as parents take the step forward, so that bringing them back from the peer orientation where we feel and they are not listening to us, we have to spend time, quality time with them. Listen to understand, listen to be heard. So they say understand to be understood. Let them speak. Let them talk about all their fears, their challenges, their doubts. What is it that's troubling them? My son never used to share his problems with me, or when he was in class 6, he was a very skinny and thin child, and he used to get bullied in his school. He never shared this to me when he was in 6th, and he was a soccer player, and we put him in a academy. He started going to academy, and the coach, though he was extremely good African coach, but he put him with senior age group children where they were very strong built. Now this child started feeling like his self-esteem suffered so much that he would hide the moment he would see that bus coming to the door. And we were wondering, what is this change? Suddenly he was from a confident, outspoken, an extrovert, he started becoming introvert, he started hiding, he stopped liking that game because he was bullied. He had a petite frame, he did not know how to handle, he tried his best. पर यहाँ पे हमें एज मदर मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि मुझे पता ही नहीं कि उसके साथ क्या हो रहा है, बिकॉज ही नेवर टोल्ड मी, ही वॉज नॉट कॉन्फिडेंट इनफ टू शेयर दैट प्रॉब्लम विद मी. फिर एक और बात कि जब एक बार उसके नंबर आते थे एग्ज़ाम में, he would hide his Hindi paper. He was extremely good in other subjects, but Hindi he just didn't like. So he scored, very comparatively, like if he's scoring in 90s in other subjects, so in 60s in Hindi, and he would hide that paper. I've taken permission to talk about this, otherwise the child might feel bad. तो मैंने उसको पूछा, मुझे एज अ टीचर आई न्यू इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल कि बच्चे को सारे पेपर मिल जाएं और हिंदी का ही ना मिले. सो आई हैड टू काइंड ऑफ लुक इनटू हिज बैग, और मैंने देखा कि हिंदी का पेपर वहाँ पड़ा है. आई कॉल्ड हिम, वाई हैवंट यू शोन दिस टू मी. कहता है कि अगर जब आप बच्चा आके मम्मी को दिखाता है या पापा को, तो उसको डांट पड़ती है. सो बच्चे झूठ कब बोलते हैं? क्योंकि उनको पता है ये एक्शन है और इसका रिएक्शन डांट ही है, तो वो झूठ बोलने लगते हैं. सो द ईजी वे आउट इज़ झूठ. दे डू नॉट नो दैट पेरेंट्स लव देम बियॉन्ड दीज मार्क्स. देयर वर्दीनेस इज़ नॉट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द मार्क्स, बट वो बच्चे की इस एज ग्रुप में, प्री टीन्स में, कंक्रीट थिंकिंग होती है. दे सी एंड बिलीव व्हाट दे सी. मतलब इट्स ऑल वट एवर इज़ देयर ऑन द फेस वैल्यू. दे विल नॉट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट्स इन योर माइंड एंड व्हाट्स इन योर हार्ट, एंड दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दैट. तो मैंने उसको उस दिन प्रॉमिस किया. दिस इज़ माई ओन लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस विच आई फील इज़ अ मस्ट टू शेयर. मैंने उसको अपने गोद में बिठाया, प्यार किया, उसको विश्वास दिलाया कि आज के बाद चाहे तुम्हारे 0 नंबर आए, बट तुम सबसे पहले मुझे वो पेपर दिखाओगे, एंड आई प्रॉमिस यू कि मैं तुम्हें उसके बाद कभी डांटूंगी नहीं. सो वॉट हैपेंड आफ्टर दैट, ही बिकेम सो कॉन्फिडेंट, and also he stopped going for that coaching. We thought it was not good, it wasn't doing any good to him, and he was deteriorating in health, and he was becoming underconfident. So all of that, somehow he became fine after a few years. What I mean to say, I lived up to this promise. मैंने वो promise आज तक निभाया कि मैंने उसको उसके बाद कभी नहीं डांटा, और उसके बाद उसके जो नंबर आते थे वो धड़ल्ले से आके बोलता था कि मम्मा आई हैव स्कोर्ड दिस, एंड नाउ इफ़ यू क्वेश्चन हिम, यही नंबर आए हैं. तो इस तरह से जब हम बच्चों को ये कॉन्फिडेंस खुद देंगे कि वी बिलीव यू बियॉन्ड योर मार्क्स, यू आर वर्दी, एंड योर मार्क्स डू नॉट सर्टिफाई योर वर्दीनेस, योर love and affection for you, so they will become confident. They will have confidence, they will start believing not only in themselves, they will believe in you, they will start sharing all their secrets with you. This I experienced with my daughter Being a mother of two adults, I can share a lot with you. Once she went in college, she would talk about every topic, everything, every boy she would want to talk about, and I listen to her. Also, as a mother, you will of course tell them where to go. Right, the rights and wrong are still in your hold, the rules are still to be followed, and you have to make your rules, but listening to them is very important. Being empathetic, being compassionate, making them compassionate listeners, not only for themselves. यहाँ पे not only बच्चों को compassion सिखाना है, हमें अपने लिए भी सीखना है. We as mothers, हम सारा दिन बच्चों के आसपास घूमते हैं, our life revolves around them, and we kind of live in our children's mind. We are hovering, we want our children to be safe and sound, fed and watered. We are worried that they get right grades, right admissions. So we feel there's so much required to be done. So somewhere we start controlling them. We want to control their life, and once they are not fitting in that control, we feel jittery, we feel unsafe ourselves. Here we need to take a deep breath. It's all right. Each child is wired and inspired differently. They will find their way out. Once they know that their parents believe them, they start believing in themselves. So yesterday only I read this beautiful line. It says, if you believe in me, I believe a little more in myself. If you give this confidence to your child as a teacher or as a parent, that I believe you, I trust you, I have full faith in your abilities, they will start trusting themselves. Second thing, you would say we provide them with so many privileges at the drop of the hat. They have everything on the platter and they are not thankful for it. For that, you can always negotiate, you can always set rules in clear and concise manner. I'll just say hello Ashwini Kumar. Okay, so the thing is, if you set your rules right, if they know that this is the line which they are not allowed to cross, they will follow. And you can always say that I believe you are worthy of everything, and I am offer you these privileges if and only you earn them. Now, how is this child supposed to earn these privileges from you? He or she is supposed to show up, own up responsibility, complete the assigned task. You have to involve them in day-to-day chores. Don't keep them away. नहीं पढ़ लो तुम, मैं सब काम खुद ही कर लूँगी. No, involve them in day-to-day, everyday activities. Here I want to quote one more example. I was in a webinar few days back, and it was lunchtime, and I was really hungry. It was around 2:30 to 3, and I was famished, literally famished, and I didn't know how to get up and make chapatis. And that day, incidentally, my maid was not there. You won't believe, my son went to kitchen, he made chapatis, he served food, and he switched off the video mode of the webinar, and he served me the food. And sitting in the webinar, I had my food. So it's very important to involve our children in all the daily activities. Once you involve them with you, it doesn't look like a burden. It becomes part of growing up. It's a skill set which will help them in their own relationships. Here I have, in my videos, I have talked about breaking stereotypes. So right from beginning, if both your kids are responsible enough to own up their responsibilities, they know their self-assessment, how they have to accept themselves, all these things help in easy, smoother transition from adolescence to adulthood. So how do we stop controlling and taking charge? Instead, we start, if we want our children to involve in physical activities. Hello Sanjay Bhatt, hello Samar Singh ji, Dr. Deepak, welcome to the talk. So how do we lose how do we stop controlling? By understanding them, by talking to them, by sitting with them. Also, screen time, that's the major issue with all of us, including us as adults. How do we inculcate this, that we have to reduce screen time? How do we instill this habit? We will have to make rules that you have a certain number of hours assigned for screen time, apart from online classes, of course, maybe 2 hours. And we make rules that nobody is allowed to take phone during dinner, even as adults. And we ensure that they have adequate sleep, at least 8 hours of sleep, for their health, for their mental peace, for their normal growth. It's very important that they have enough number of sleeping hours. So we have to reduce screen time. Screen time is not only damaging their mind, that they become fidgety, they are shifting from Insta to Facebook to WhatsApp to Snapchat. So the mind, it's a very, they become fickle minded, and attention span is really becoming less. And as parents, we do not know how to take hold of this. Once you have this bonding where they start listening to you and they value your opinion, they will understand. So you can always say, during your classes, during your study time, this phone will remain with me. I will keep it switched off or on silent mode. I am not going to touch it. Your privacy is purely maintained. Or with smaller children, pre-teens, we can avoid as long as possible to not give them their independent phones. So we as parents have to barge in their domain. We don't need to spy, but we have to be observant. We have to observe the changes in their behavior. Is there anything which is disturbing them? Is suddenly your child sleeping more or not sleeping, or eating less or not eating? Is he losing weight? Is she becoming disinterested in the normal day-to-day activities? There are no phone calls from friends. She's not going out or chatting, apart from COVID days, I'm saying. So if there is any kind of change, we have to be observant. We have to very closely observe our children. They can go wrong. It's not that only it's in our imagination. Of course, children can go wrong, and it's not something that's not happening in this world. So we have to be careful. When I was talking about sexual orientation and all those things, topics, parents are very, very they are not comfortable discussing these things with their children. Even in my own home, my husband feels uncomfortable talking about this. He says, no, it's okay. But till the time we as parents do not share with our children, we do not talk to them, whom are they going to talk to? So this topic has to be considered. Because this is still an alien topic. This is still not accepted. This is, though they are exposed to Netflix, they are watching all kinds of shows, but still we as parents have still not broken that ice. I think it's time we take onus of this as well. Now I have a few questions for you. Have we as parents in academics, we always feel that children have to perform because it's very important for their career, for their growth, for getting into degree colleges. But somewhere the line is crossed when parents start, putting undue pressure on their children. This undue pressure is somewhere leading to a lot of mental health issues, because children are not able to tackle. I may not be very good in science, I may not be interested in becoming an engineer or a doctor. And second thing is social comparison. Do you as a parent engage yourself in social comparisons? यू कंपेयर योर चाइल्ड टू शर्मा जी, वर्मा जी का बच्चा तो ये करता है, वो इंजीनियर बन गया, वो डॉक्टर बन गया, वो ये करना, वो हार्वर्ड में पढ़ने जा रहा है, उस देखो और तुम क्या कर रहे हो। सो माई चिल्ड्रन यूज टू से कि अगर हम भी ये बोलें कि आप क्या बन गए, उसके पापा तो ये बन गए या उसकी मम्मी ये बन गई, अगर बच्चे भी यही क्वेश्चन पेरेंट्स को पूछने लगे तो कैसा लगेगा। सो हेयर बिटवीन द सिबलिंग्स, between cousins, and even with your friends' children, stop comparisons. This lowers your child's self-confidence. They feel low about themselves. They don't feel worthy. उनको लगता है कि we are not good enough. We are not good enough the way we are because हमारे पेरेंट्स को दूसरों के बच्चे ज़्यादा अच्छे लगते हैं. उनको नहीं पता कि आप उनको बहुत प्यार करते हो. तो ये विश्वास दिलाना हमारा काम है. यहाँ पे जब हम बच्चों का कंपैरिजन करते हैं और सोशल मीडिया प्रेशर ऑलरेडी है, वो बाहर ऑलरेडी बुली हो रहे हैं, तो उनको कौन संभालेगा। फिर हमारा जब कुछ हो जाता है, जब बच्चे सुसाइड कर लेते हैं, या you all know the statistics, I don't have to talk about how many children are we losing even after reaching IITs and doing internships during in AIMS. Every year there are thousands of children we are losing to suicide. So why? Because somewhere they are not accepted at home in their society. They say अगर जो फूल है वो खिल नहीं रहा, if this flower is not blooming, you have to fix the environment, not the flower. So we need to see where are we lagging, where do we need to lead by example, where do we need to teach self-acceptance, compassion, not only for them, to them, but to ourselves, and we have to be forgiving to ourselves and to children. एंड बच्चों को भी ये सिखाना है कि जो पेरेंट्स हैं वो भगवान नहीं होते, वो भी गलतियाँ कर सकते हैं. ये चीज़ मैंने अपने बच्चों से सीखी है कि इट्स ऑल राइट, पेरेंट्स कैन कमिट मिस्टेक्स. वी चिल्ड्रन डू नॉट कम विद इंस्ट्रक्शनल मैनुअल कि इस बच्चे को ऐसे पालना है और ये ऐसे ऐसे बिहेव करेगा. सो हम भी गलत होते हैं और हमें ये एक्सेप्ट करना है कि हम गलत हो सकते हैं. सो इसलिए जब हम अपनी गलतियाँ मान लेते हैं एज पेरेंट्स, वी कैन ऑलवेज से सॉरी, ऑफ कोर्स आई डिडंट नो that I am supposed to handle or tackle this issue this way, and I am thankful to you, you've guided me. Believe me, children, they understand that our parents are also human beings. They can also commit mistakes and they forgive you. क्योंकि होता क्या है कि मैंने देखा है हमारे जो बच्चे जब बड़े हो जाते हैं, एज दे रीच टूवर्ड्स 19 and 20 and they leave their house, they do not even want to come back to their house. There is a gap which gets created. They drift apart, they drift away from their parents, क्योंकि वो जो एक inner child है जो hurt हो चुका है, वो heal ही नहीं होता हमारा. We are never taught to resolve those issues as parents and as children also. अगर हम बच्चों को शुरू से ये सिखाने लगेंगे, अगर हम शुरू से छोटी छोटी थेरेपीज सिखाएंगे उनको स्टोरीज़ के माध्यम से, तो वो सीखने लगेंगे. क्योंकि मैं स्टोरीज़ के माध्यम से पढ़ाती हूँ. माय प्रोग्राम नेम इज़ स्टोरीज़ मैटर. तो एक छोटी सी स्टोरीज़ के साथ ही अपना आज की टॉक शो को ख़त्म करूँगी. और एक बार फिर एंड में हम 5 points जो टेक अवेज फ्रॉम द टॉक है वो डिस्कस करेंगे. सो देयर वॉज दिस ब्रिगेडियर. आई बिलोंग टू अ फौजी फैमिली, अ सिस्टर ऑफ एन आर्मी ऑफिसर एंड वाइफ ऑफ एन एयरफोर्स ऑफिसर. तो फ़ौज का बहुत क्लोज मेरे साथ रिलेशन है एंड आई एम प्राउड टू बी एसोसिएटेड विद फौजी फैमिली. उसमें एक बार एक ब्रिगेडियर साहब किसी गांव में जाते हैं और वहाँ पे बहुत सारे बच्चे वो यूनिफॉर्म में देख के एक्साइट होते हैं, खुश होते हैं, उनको मिलने के लिए आते हैं और बहुत सी भीड़ जमा हो जाती है ब्रिगेडियर साहब के आसपास. सो एक कोने में एक बच्चा पेड़ के पीछे से उनको देख रहा होता है और वो सामने आने की हिम्मत नहीं करता. और वो देखता है कि कितना स्मार्ट इंसान है और मैं तो कभी ऐसा नहीं बन सकता. वो बच्चे का पिटीट सा थिन सा फ्रेम होता है. और ये ब्रिगेडियर साहब तो फ़ौज में होते हैं, उनको पता है कि वो बच्चे के दिल में क्या चल रहा है. तो वो उसको बाजू बाजू पकड़ के हाथ से अपने पास लाते हैं और बोलते हैं ऐसे पकड़ के कि ये बच्चा तो बड़ा होके जर्नल बनेगा। बच्चा वो एकदम उसके अंदर एक ही कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाता है कि जर्नल मतलब मैं और जर्नल और इस तरह की बॉडी के साथ, बिकॉज हमारे दिमाग में होता है कि जो फ़ौजी तो सिर्फ वो बन सकते हैं जिनका फ़िज़ीक बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग होता है, जो फिज़िकली स्ट्रॉन्ग होते हैं। तो उसको वो कॉन्फिडेंस वो दे देते हैं कि हाँ तुम कर सकते हो एंड तुम जर्नल बनोगे बड़े होके। और वो बच्चे के अंदर एक धुन सवार हो जाती है, उसको ये कॉन्फिडेंस हो जाता है अपने ऊपर कि हाँ मैं जर्नल बन सकता हूँ, और आगे जाके वो अपनी लाइफ में लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल बने। मैं नाम नहीं लूँगी यहाँ पे, बट सो दिस इज़ अ ट्रू स्टोरी. दिस इज़ अ स्टोरी वेयर somebody, if they believe in you, as I said, I believe a little more in myself. If we give them that confidence, they will learn, they will grow, they will thrive in their professions. Leave them free, develop skill sets so that they grow up to be blooming flowers in their whichever respective field they wish to be. Let them do what they want to do, and they will follow their passion with 100% vigor, with 100% resilience. So this is very important for us as parents and teachers to instill that confidence in our children, to bridge those gaps. It's not money. This is not like हाँ मैंने तुम्हें सब दे दिया और क्या चाहिए. बच्चों को तो सब वही करना होता है जो माँ बाप चाहते हैं. Gone are the days. We have to be their best friends. हम बच्चों को फ्रेंड्स के रूप में देखने लगेंगे तो वो भी हमें फ्रेंड्स के रूप में देख के अपने सारे सीक्रेट्स शेयर करने लगेंगे. सो दिस इज़ वेयर आई वांट टू एंड विद अ ब्यूटिफुल thought, and I have a long list of Thanksgiving after that. So there is a thought by Charles Ryson. One generation full of loving parents would change the brain of the next generation, and with that the word. One generation full of loving parents would change the brain of the next generation, and with that the word. So if we start loving, we extend our warm hand to our children, we learn to make them more compassionate, empathetic, self-accepting, they will grow. They will grow up to be whatever they wish to. So instill that confidence. I will like to thank, I'll end my talk here, and one more thing. If I somehow pronounce names, if I'm not unable to pronounce names, please bear with me and excuse me for my mistakes. This is a long list, and I'm going to read this list starting from Professor Charles Walter, Scientist, Honorable Patron, CWSIR, Dr. Abhishek Pandey, President, CWSIR. I am thankful to Dr. Abhishek Pandey for connecting with me and giving me this honor to be part of this group. Mrs. Malika Grewal, Vice President, CWSIR, Dr. Smita Tiwari Balia, author and literature founder, CWSIR, Professor Beatrice Lucia, educationist, France, co-founder, CWSIR, Dr. Rita Jairath, Delhi Ambassador, CWSIR, Honorary Patron, Mr. Murari Bansal, Chairman, GD Goenka. Good evening, sir. Mr. Suminder Singh Ji, MD, IDPS, Jammu. Hello, sir. Mr. James Douglas Little, Space Science, USA. Mr. Sudan Hassan, Associated Cambridge, UK. Mr. Pramod Mahajan, Educationist, UAE. Good evening, sir. Officials of CWSIR. Ms. Vijay Lakshmi Jha, Legal Expert, CWSIR, Advocate, Supreme Court of India. Dr. Dheeraj Mehrotra, Academic Evangelist, Director, CWSIR. Tazeen Siddiqui, Scholar of Harvard University, Executive President, CWSIR. Evangelia Vasilako, Executive Director, CWSIR. She's from Greece. I don't know. So you will have to excuse me with the pronunciation of proper nouns. Mr. Mitul Dikshit, Chief Managing Director, CWSIR, President, International Space Society, Chandigarh. Ms. Deep Shikha Tiwari, Kolkata, Registrar, CWSIR. Dr. Neelu Joshi, Director, MeetX, CWSIR. Now, overseas supporters. I'm thankful to all the overseas supporters here. Professor Crit Morocco, Mr. Alexandre France from France, Evangelia Vasilako, Greece, Professor Beatrice, France, James D. Little, USA, Professor Chia C. Tan, Thailand, Professor Hamid Hussain. Thank you, Jyoti Bansali ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Suminder sir. Let me finish my list first. I shouldn't miss out somebody's name. Professor Chia C. Ten, Thailand. Professor Hamid Hussain, Pakistan. Miss Mandavi Chaube, Dubai. Professor Dr. Yankon Topareyun, Thailand. FB1 Dr. Babalola from Nigeria. I will read this much. Mr. Swaminathan, Uganda. Professor Dr. Smith Zareen, Bangladesh. Miss Sophia Christina, Greece. Dr. Faisal Shamli, Oman. Bibas J. Thapa, Nepal. Dr. Abdul Ghafoor, Supreme Court of Pakistan. Professor Ala El Charak, Iraq. Mr. Kashif Rizvi, UK. Professor Hamidullah, Pakistan. Professor Armin Becker, Ukraine. Professor Babu George, USA. Engineer Poduchov, Surgery, Moscow, Russia. Mr. Noriyoshi Komori, Japan. And astronomist Keith Sowell, USA. Professor Haino Nijin Lee, South Korea. Mr. Pujuwari Sarkavi, Language Lab, STIE, Indonesia. Thank you everyone for being patient and for all my errors. I hope you can ignore these because this is the second time I'm reading these names and they were quite unfamiliar names to me. If you have any questions or anything that you would want to ask, you may please proceed. If there is anything, otherwise I'll wind up my talk here and so I hope this helps because this came clearly from mothers and teachers' experiences, and I have walked my talk now already because my children are doing wonderfully well in their respective professions. They are the ones I feel honored to announce this, that all my social media, all my content everything is managed by my children. Both of them help me in my work. I look for, I take advice from them. I talk to my daughter before recording every video because that's the kind of confidence I have in her. This is where, as mother, as parents, it really helps to build that bond. And as a mother, I have felt that it is much easier for us if we accept this transition smoothly. And we do not have this pride between two loving people because we love our children, we know this. But still there is a pride being a parent. And as Buddha says, when two people love each other unconditionally, there is no space for pride. Hug them. Tell them that you love them. Every morning if you go, just hug them. They feel accepted, they feel worthy, they feel loved, and they will have fewer mental health issues. Children who are loved and the ones who feel accepted do much better in their careers, in their relationships. They are much more sorted because somewhere inside they are confident of the fact that they are loved. This being loved, being accepted is what our brain is wired for. So this is going to be 7 o'clock. Thank you all. Thank you, Arun Sharma ji. Thanks a lot for all your encouraging words. Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. I feel honored that you've joined me today. Thank you, Dr. Abhishek. This was indeed one of its kind of lecture where talk where I have gone online, because till now I have always going through a story, and I feel as teachers we can take these healing stories to teach our children, to make our teaching much more effective and easier. They are things which are much more easier to convey through stories, and even most difficult subjects can be handled at ease. So thank you, keep inviting and keep watching. Goodbye. I'll take your leave now.